And today's challenge is to fix a urinal that does this. Yeah, it's leaking from the back. If you've never done a urinal like this, it's very similar to a toilet, only of course it's hanging on the wall instead of sitting on the floor. It uses very similar connections. So basically the equivalent of a wax ring on a regular toilet, back here it's a silicone ring, has failed and is leaking, so let's get it fixed. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is turn off the water at the source, which involves just turning the screw. Now normally there's a cap on this one, I don't know where it went, but just take it off and turn this down. And you might test it to make sure there's no water coming in. Okay, I'm going to be using a plumber's wrench on these larger joints, but to prevent garring up the chrome finish, which is actually not in that great a shape on this one anyway, but just for best practices, I'm going to wrap these two in masking tape to protect the finish. Okay, now depending on your installation, you may or may not have to do anything else. Oh, in this case I had just enough room. Unfortunately this did pop loose, so I will have to reinstall that. And most urinals will be siliconed onto the wall, so you will have to cut the silicone bond all the way around to actually get the body of the urinal off the wall, so come prepared. Okay, now we remove these two bolts holding it down, much like a regular toilet is held to the floor. This one's got good access, as you can see, no problem. This one is a little more convoluted. It's definitely kind of working around the corner here, so I've used a universal drive. You could just use a 1/2-inch wrench and take it off, but I'm too lazy for that. All right, and as fully expected, this gasket you can see has been seriously deformed. Definitely not the shape it should be. That is one strange looking gasket. So we just need to put a new one on it. And by the way, this is the first really nasty part of this job, and this is where you'll want to wear rubber gloves if you're into that kind of thing. So now it's time to put on the new gasket. Okay, the new gasket will stretch over the lip. Now this really, honestly, is not much of a lip here, folks, so it will be hanging on there in a kind of tenuous manner, which is going to make placing the new placing the urinal back in place a little flaky, so you're going to want to be very careful when you place it that this does not get dislodged. In the meantime, what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean up the silicone around the edge, which will have to be replaced, obviously, and it's a whole lot easier than I thought it was going to be. It just peels right off. But if not, you can use a razor blade and remove all traces so that whenever you do put the urinal back in, it sits flush. Okay. So now we're ready to put this back in. Let's get these bolts lined up as best we can and get the urinal hanging from the hooks before we put any pressure on this, and then gingerly walk it into position down here to make sure we have not dislodged the gasket. Okay, there was really no good way to show the process, but I got the bolts lined up. The gasket did, of course, pop off just with the lightest touch with the urinal body coming into place. So the only thing you can do is reach up in the seam here and wiggle it into place from this perspective, and then slowly just rotate the urinal body back down to hold it in place. Should have a good seal now. Now it's just a matter of putting in the bolts. And one thing I do notice is the gap is going to be greater. This gasket is a lot thicker, which is good and bad. That's good because it will seal better. It's bad because I'm going to need more silicone. Not a big deal. Okay, both bolts are tightened down. Don't go gorilla tight, it's just a plastic flange back there. Next step, I'm going to go ahead and put the plumbing back together up top so I can test fire this thing and make sure we're not still leaking. Do that before you apply the silicone, folks. You'll thank me in the end. Okay, chasing down my leak, I take a closer look, and I don't know if you can see it, folks, but that output flange down here is not on the center line. It's definitely offset to the right from this perspective. So that's the cause of the problem. That's why originally you could see that odd deformation in the original gasket. I do believe I'm going to be able to move the urinal to the right a bit. The problem I'm going to have is that my plumbing above is already fixed, and you can see it's pretty much centered, if anything, to the left of these little clips on which the urinal hangs. So, and I'm going to use this one. This one looks, obviously it's much deeper, and the way this one works is that you see it's actually got an adhesive surface under this protective wrap, and it goes into the wall-mounted flange like that. You peel this off and then put the urinal in place, and of course the trick is that it's pretty wide, so there's some wiggle room to deal with misalignment, but I'm going to place it without pulling the adhesive cover and see if I can make it fit better. In the meantime, I think I got a strategy to move this urinal up and over to the side, twist it as I need to get it to align better here. And I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I've got this nice, pretty thin rubber material. It's some sort of baseboard trim. I'm going to cut a piece of that and lay it in on top of this side mounting, and that way the edge of the urinal will actually be held up by the width of this, actually a little more than the width because of the angle involved, and I think that'll give me the twist I need and make it fit better. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that and then place the urinal just to see how it hangs and see if I got alignment and go from there. Okay, it looks a little goofy, but honestly, as long as I don't knock it off, putting it in place, it should work fine. Okay, there it is. That's my adjustment shim, so to speak. I got a little piece of tape just to hold it in place as I place it. I'm going to place the urinal over it and see how it lines up. And if it lines up, then we'll remove the gasket and do it for real. Okay, it's not too hard to see the obvious twist on this thing, but that's what I needed to get the water valve lined up, and it's centered on the outlet there. So that's going to work. I could either try to just wiggle the bottom of the thing out and peel the adhesive cover off and hope that works. But instead, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the corners here for placement, so I know exactly where to put it back on, remove the adhesive cover, and then place the urinal in place, and then gently rotate it into place underneath. So let's do that. Okay, I made marks on both corners, It gave me a center placement guide with a piece of tape, ready to pull it off. And the adhesive is now ready to bond. I'm ready to place the urinal back on the wall, and we should get a good result this time. Okay, it's all seems to be lined up as best I can tell from under here. I had to kind of get a feel for where the actual hole in the back of the urinal was. That should cover it. I got both bolts sticking out through the porcelain, which is where I want to be. And this, I'll actually have to give it a little push to get that new gasket pushed back fully into the flange. You can see it standing out proud of the wall here by something less than an inch, but it should go right in, and that should have set the adhesive. All right, now just got to tighten down these bolts and see what we got. Okay, that's tight enough to test. I'm going to go ahead, turn the water on. That should be it. Now with any luck, it flushes. And there is no leakage. There might have been a drop over the top here, but I can live with that. Beautiful. It's draining, doing fine. It is finally fixed. And again, folks, keep in mind that now the fill pipe is in line with the drain pipe, even if that means that the urinal is not quite square in the area that it's mounted, but that's all right. Now I just have to put some silicone around the edge to really hold it in place, and we're good to go.